From news and views, issues and opportunities, we'll have in-depth conversations with decision makers to find out what they know and what they think. I'm Rico Hizon, inviting you to join the exchange because your business is our business. While declining COVID-19 cases give a breather, the country faces yet another crisis. Surging fuel prices and supply concerns triggered by Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Public utility drivers are taking a hit as they're still recovering from years of tight restrictions.
Napakabigat para sa amin, lalo na nagwalang pasahero. Sana bumaba pa ang presyo ng diesel para naman hindi maghihirap ang kapwa naming mga driver.
And the government raises the need for energy security amid global instability.
In case the war spread, kailangan ang gobyerno meron tayong nakaimbak na supply.
Consumers fear the oil crisis will have a knock-on effect on prices of goods and basic commodities. Is it time to declare a state of economic emergency to anticipate the fallout from the war in Eastern Europe? Amid uncertainties, our kababayans have become wiser in handling hard-earned money. The vision of financial security in our C-suite vision. A huge blow for motorists and fuel-dependent industries. Pump prices rising by over 3 to 5 pesos this week, the 10th consecutive week of increase and the biggest so far for the year. But many of our kababayans fear the worst has yet to come as the war in Ukraine rages on. Let's now have an exchange with Piston Cebu's Greg Perez and Philippine Shipping Association's Mark Parco. Gentlemen, maraming salamat for joining us. Greg, magsisimula po tayo sa inyo. Gaano po kabigat ang epekto ng pagtaas ng krudo sa mga driver sa Cebu?
Una-una sir, no, kung sigutanan sa pagsaka sa presyo sa gasolina o lana sa atong nasod, kami nga mga driver, no, ang direktasad, no, mapiktuhan tungod sa matagdaga na mo, matag pamasada na mo, kinanglan mutubil kami sa mga gasoline station. Busa ang dako epekto, no, sa pagkakaroon labi na sa sunod-sunod nga pagsaka sa oil o sa lana sa atong nasod. Kung maingon kag porsyento, nakibahangan, no, o mga 70% nga kinitaan sa atong mga kaigsunang driver karon nakibhang, no, matagsaka magod mukibhang yun ang iyang kita sa pagpamasada sir sa tungod aning taas kaayo nga presyo sa lana. Sa una moingon ka mo take home pa sila og 500 sa pagkahuman ani o pagbalik na nato sa karsada human sa lockdown. Pero sa pagkakaron hasta ang barya nato sir ginakaon gikaon na sa gasolina, no, mo nga barya na lang po nang maabot sa atong mga kaigsunan.
So Sir Greg, no, masakit talaga, no, pag konti lang ang kita ng ating mga drivers sa Cebu. May 4 na transport groups na hindi na raw mag-aayin ng petisyon para sa itaas ang pamasahe. Ano po ang posisyon ng Piston?
Tinuod na siya sir, no, na ay mga transport group karon nga na petisyon para sa per height. Pero sa particular sa Piston sir, kami wala pa mi decide nga magpasaka og plite tungod para namo dili solusyon ang pagsaka sa plitihan sa pagkakaroon sir tungod makadugang sa nga kalisod, no, makadugang sa nga pasunon pasanunon sa atong mga kaigsunan labi na sa mga yanong sumasakay nato mga mamumuo nga wala po igong income sa pagkakaroon sayod ta nga gamay ang income sa atong mga mamumuo o labi na sa among mga sumasakay sa pagkakaroon sir.
Okay, Mark, ikaw naman, no, gaano naman naapektuhan ang ating shipping industry at supply chain ng sunod-sunod na pagtaas ng presyo ng krudo mula nitong umpisa ng taon?
The shipping industry is coming from a position where COVID, we were badly hit. And 2019, in general, my members lost around 600 million pesos. In 2020, we lost a cumulative of 1.5 billion pesos. 2021 now submitting their P&L, but I don't think it is there's any improvement So we're coming from years of successive losses. And now with the increase of fuel, our fuel bill has gone up from 30% of our operating cost to around 40 to 50% of our operating cost. And the fuel has gone up. Brent crude had gone up by almost 50%. I was in the last congressional meeting, and even the MOPS went up by 50%. So if we do the math, 50% of your 40% of your cost, you're looking at easily 25% increase in cost from an industry that's already losing money.
Right.
So you're going to see increases. Otherwise, services will degrade.
Right.
And remember, we are carrying maybe 80% of the goods from Manila to the provinces. So it's a vital business, and it supports the economy. And without the lines, the economy will be hard hit.
Absolutely. It's really hurting your bottom line. And how is this affecting the prices of goods and services? Ano-ano ang mga produktong naapektuhan nitong pagtaas ng crudo?
I think across the board, 90% of the goods going south are carried by ships. Even if you say it goes by land, it still goes on board a ro-ro vessel on the land bridge. So I would say almost everything will be affected. And whether it is a bulk ship, a tanker, or a container ship, they're all going to be hit. And that's not the worst part. Spare parts is going to go up because the cost of importing is going to go up. Then for ship owners, another major cost is our dry docking, and that's very reliant on energy. So the cost of energy is going to go up. And on top of that, the inflation. Trucking is going to go up. Definitely, our truckers are slowly coming to us and asking for increases. And this is, again, it's not just ocean freight, but all the ancillary services which use fuel.
Wow, it's a domino effect from top to bottom. And Greg, Mark, nakausap po namin ang Department of Finance. And at hindi raw po nila recommend ang pagsusumindi ng excise tax on fuel products. Narito po ang kanilang sinabi.
It will translate to significant foregone revenues. Second, it will be detrimental to our recovery and is inequitable.
So, Sir Greg, ano po ang masasabi ninyo na hindi raw maaaring suspindihin ang fuel excise tax dahil hindi ito magiging maganda para sa ating ekonomiya?
Sa amo sir amo man na sa nga demanda nga ipasuspindi na to sa karon nga panahon ang excise tax. Gani dili lang excise tax kundi ang VAT diha sa matag litro sa lana kay kita naka-compute nga dako kayo na siya nga kantidad sad ang naa diha sa matag litro. Para namo dapat dili ang ayan nga kuan na sa gobyerno sa ato nga makuha na siya nga excise tax kay tungod unsa po'y gihimo sa atong gobyerno sa karon nga kahimtang nato sa pagtaas sa presyo sa lana nga sa panawagan namo pagbasura sa oil derogation law dugay ng panahon wa man pud siya gihimong lakang mo na problema nato aron sir nga unsang klase gobyerno ang ato naa karon nganong sayod man tanong kada saka sa presyo sa lana dako pud mapunta sa gobyerno nato pero asa napunta pod o giunsa pod sa gobyerno ang kana nga tax nato karon nga kami nga mga yanong tao wala may wala may gibati nga naigi ayuda sa mga o gitabang sa atong mga nagkalisod nga mga katawhan karon sir.
Okay. What about on your end, Mark? Is the shipping industry calling for a suspension of the fuel excise tax to give the sector a reprieve because of rising fuel prices?
I believe that is necessary, and as what Piston has said, the government is earning excess revenue because of the higher cost of fuel. They're going to have excess VAT collections. Their excise tax is going up. So I think if you look at it, maybe they do the math. If you cut the excise tax, maybe it can be made up by the additional VAT that they are going to be earning. So there has to be some assistance that the government gives to industry. If you look at other countries, okay, we're not oil producing, but other countries would subsidize their fuel. Indonesia, Malaysia are subsidizing their fuel. In this case, if we're getting excess VAT collections, why don't we subsidize by reducing the excise tax? Now, if prices of fuel continue to go up, I'm afraid that 25% increase may not be even enough. It will still go up further and it will hurt everybody. So the government has to do something about this.
And Russia just said that if this conflict continues and gets protracted, we may even see oil at $300 per barrel. That will really hurt everybody. What is likely to happen to the shipping industry in terms of imports and exports and shipping of goods and services across the archipelago if this happens?
If you're talking about domestic, that cost will have to be passed on. Otherwise, the ships will stop moving. Honestly, as the prices go up, we cannot extend credit with the shipping lines. We have with the oil companies. It's a certain credit, and if we don't pay that, they will not deliver, and we will not be able to move cargo, which is a bigger problem if goods are not. As you know, everything is centered in Manila, so. If nothing moves, then our poor countrymen in the provinces will suffer. And it is not a small thing when you talk about 90% or 90 plus percent of goods moving by sea to all these places. So there will be a reduction in services, I guess, as the lines will try to cut down on their fuel costs by reducing number of trips if we're not unable to collect. But the question really is if even if it goes up to 300, is the consumer able to pay for this, or does the government have to do something to subsidize the cost of the fuel?
Sir Greg, ang gobyerno magbibigay daw ng bilyon-bilyon na ayuda sa ating mga public utility drivers. Madali po ba para sa inyo ang kumuha ng ayuda mula sa gobyerno? Base po kasi sa mga nakakausap namin noon, ang dami pong mga requirements at hinihingi ng gobyerno at matagal ang proseso.
Tinuod na sir, no? Ang problema na to ron sa ayuda manggod nga gina-implement sa atong kagamhanan para namo sa transport sector, labi na sa mga yanong mga driver karon. Maagi ka sa butas sa karayom, no, sa ka makadawat o gani dili gyud makadawat kay limbawa ang fuel subsidy nga giingon sa gobyerno giagi nila sa mga operator, giagi sa card holder nila nga mga operator, dili makatilaw ang mga kaigsunon natong driver. Mao na problema nato sir sa giingon nga bilyon o milyon nga kantidad nga hinabang unta nila no sa atong mga kaigsoonang driver. Pero kami di namin makuan sir kay tungod gikan pa sa SAP hantod karon wala pa pila lang ka tawo ang nakadawat no sa mao nga hinabang. Unsay mitabo nato sa atong mga kaigsoonang driver, dili na siya makapamasada kung sa padayon nga pagsaka aning presyo sa lana.
Maraming salamat po sa inyo, Greg Perez ng Piston Cebu and Mark Parco of the Philippine Liner Shipping Association. Well, airlines are offering more promo fares now that travel is gradually increasing. But with the fuel price hike, will plane tickets become more expensive soon? Stanley Gajeta has the details.
Summer is almost here, and as COVID-19 restrictions are relaxed, airline companies see demand in booking flights increase after almost 2 years of travel ban. To recover losses fast, airline companies are offering various promo fares.
I would say na sustained yung confidence ng mga kababayan natin na bumiyahe because it is reflected in our sales. Reflected siya dun sa increase nung flight bookings namin.
However, the aviation industry is facing another challenge. While the economy is recovering, the Russia-Ukraine conflict is affecting the world market.
Well, definitely, no, it's a cause for concern yung nangyayari ngayon sa Russia because isa siya sa pangunahing pinagmumula natin or pinagkukunan ng fuel or ng supply ng produktong petrolyo, no.
Fuel hedging is an important strategy for airline companies to buy jet fuel while price is still affordable. However, it's still a risk for the aviation industry when prices drop later. Due to this instability, airline firms are asking the government to reduce or at least not increase government-imposed fees and charges. Meanwhile, under the current situation, airlines are allowed to increase fuel surcharge to be able to recover losses from continuous price hikes.
Nasa sa kanila yan kung gusto nilang i-fully, kasi yung binibigay namin ceiling yun. Bawa, sabi ng isang airline, kahit malugi ako basta ma-stimulate ko yung market. Hindi ko i-implement fully. Kalahati lang yung surcharge ko. Nasa kanya yun.
Each of the airlines have their own strategy of how much to charge. No? Siyempre, there will be restraint in increasing the fares so that it does not add to the overall cost of travel. If there are more travelers, then there are more opportunities to bring down the fare.
Stanley Gahete, CNN Philippines.
Here's a rundown of this week's top business stories. The Philippine Stock Exchange Index remains volatile over uncertainties in the oil market. The local currency dips to below 52 pesos to the dollar, its lowest against the greenback since August of 2019. Major power distributor Meralco will bill its customers more this month by 6 and a quarter centavos per kilowatt hour to 9 pesos and 65 centavos per kilowatt hour due to higher generation charges. And Malacanang allows e-sabong operations to continue despite an ongoing investigation on reported crimes linked to the activity and the disappearance of dozens of online betting cockfight enthusiasts. And coming up on the exchange, where your business is our business. Consumers are closely monitoring the prices of food and other basic commodities as fuel becomes more expensive. Steven Cuba of a supermarket group shares with us what to look out for. And should the country be under a state of economic emergency? Trade Secretary Ramon Lopez joins us straight ahead. Keep it right here on CNN Philippines. News you can use, news you can trust. Glad you're staying with us right here on The Exchange, where your business is our business. I'm Rico Hizon. Placing the entire country under alert level 1 at the soonest possible time would help cushion the economic impact of the Ukraine-Russia conflict on the economy. That is one of the 14 recommendations prepared by the economic cluster to make sure the recovery won't lose steam. Other measures include increasing imports of rice, pork, fish, and sugar, and allowing foreign ownership in grid, solar, and wind energy. Finance Secretary Sani Dominguez says the economy will likely suffer from indirect shocks on commodity and financial markets, investments, and fiscal health. And the conflict will likely trigger higher food prices and interest rates. But the finance chief is confident the local economy can weather these risks.
We are confident that we will be able to keep the inflation within our target range of 2 to 4% and maintain our growth path of 7 to 9% this year.
Dominguez says the country has faced much longer crises and the government is now more experienced in preventing an economic fallout. Labor Secretary Silvestre Bello orders regional wage boards to speed up the review of minimum wages as fuel prices rise. Bello admits the current wage in Metro Manila is not enough against higher prices of basic commodities. And this comes after the Metal Workers Association of the Philippines called for a new wage floor of 750 pesos per day, which is a drastic increase from the current 317 to 400 pesos in Calabarzon, where the metal workers filed their petition. This is the first in a string of wage petitions expected to be filed this year. The last wage hike granted was back in February 2020, just before the declaration of the COVID-19 pandemic, and that was in Cagayan Valley. Because of higher food prices, labor groups are complaining their families hardly survive with the 537 peso daily minimum wage for Metro Manila.
A real wage na value ngayon ng 537 ay actually 437 na lang siya, yung real value niya. So, yung nawalang 100 piso sa panahon pa yun ng pandemya, how much more na matindi yung pagtaas ng presyo ng langis, presyo ng mga pangunahing bilihin.
For the Employers Confederation of the Philippines, granting of wage hikes is unlikely for now. The cost of basic commodities is relatively stable for now, but price hikes are not off the table given that expensive fuel shows no signs of easing anytime soon. Let's now have an exchange with Stephen Pua from the Philippine Amalgamated Supermarkets Association. Stephen, thank you so much for joining us. Some items, including canned goods and powder milk, have started rising since January. Other products are likely to follow. Give us an estimate of the rate of price increases of local products, essential local products, and imported essential products.
Okay. Pricing is a management decision. Okay. So they can hold it off so that they can eat into the market share of their competitors, or they can, start increasing their price, adjusting their prices so that, makahabol sila sa costs, increasing costs. Okay. The conflict in Europe, Russia and Ukraine has accelerated the increased decision of management, the suppliers, the manufacturers, to increase their prices. So since March 1, around 30 plus manufacturers, out of around 500 manufacturers, have decided to increase some of their products, not all their products. Okay?
Yes.
For the prime basic necessities and prime commodities, around 4 to 6% increase. For those which have imported raw materials or are fully imported, they've risen from around 8 to 15, some to even 20%. Okay, so it's your choice what brands, what products you'd like to buy these days, which will fit your budget.
Wow, from single digit for local products to more huge double digit increases for imported products. What are the commodities, Stephen, that are most prone to these price hikes, both local and imported?
Okay, the whole set of categories, from ice cream to yogurt, non-essentials, to coffee, morning beverage. Ang medyo malakas tinaas, health and beauty products. We're talking toothpaste, shampoo, medyo malaking tinaas. Siguro ang point nila, ngayon maglalabasan ng tao, people start needing these products, so there's demand. Okay, sinabay na rin nila siguro yun. Pero for sardines, only 1-2 brands have advised us that they are increasing their prices, adjusting their prices. The rest, sugar, wala naman sinabi. Milk products. We don't have a dairy industry practically. So, all the sangkap ay imported, So we're talking powdered milk, we're talking fresh milk. Medyo nag-adjust sa mga prices ng mga to.
These are really essential items for any household, Stephen. And some lawmakers right now are calling on the president to declare a state of economic emergency because of rising fuel prices and rising commodity prices. Is this needed at this point? And what does this mean for supermarkets?
So are you saying a price freeze?
Yeah, price freeze, yes.
Okay, maybe that should stop, some of the suppliers or manufacturers from deciding to adjust prices. Kasi naman when they adjust prices, hindi naman isahan yan eh. They could increase by 2% for this product, for this item, which is pangmasa, and another 2% 3 months, 5 months down the road. So staggered basis. Hindi naman kailangan all in one eh. Hindi naman one-time, big-time increase eh. For others, they decide one-time, big-time increase. Probably non-essential. Or probably they're lagging behind in their bottom line. Nagkakaproblema na. Or they will be expanding, or CBA nila about to expire, and have a new one. So there are many reasons why a company adjusts the prices of its items, But all in all, what's happening globally because of increase in shipping costs, lalo na yung imported, and the cost of fuel, of oil, has accelerated the decision. Now, if there will be a price freeze, I suppose they'll have to, manage the increases later on. But again, pabalik lang sa atin yan. Kasi yung hindi nila na-increase ngayon, maaaring sabay nila 5 months, 6 months down the road.
You have dozens of supermarkets and groceries under your association. How do you balance between profit and making goods as affordable as possible for the consumer?
Well, we can't hold back because wala na kaming abiso eh. They don't tell us that we'll be increasing next week or next month. So they just tell us that on your next order, increase the prices. And we don't stock up. Supermarkets don't stock up anymore because the number of items in the supermarket, about 15,000 to 20,000 SKUs or items in the supermarket. So we don't dare stock up good for a month worth of supply. Sometimes we ask suppliers to deliver twice a week. So good for 3 days, 5 days, 1 week ang aming stock levels. That's why it's not good if there's going to be panic buying because supermarkets will run out of goods because we don't stock up that much anymore. Not like before.
There is currently a review, Stephen, of the minimum wage across the board. Can the groceries and supermarkets afford to pay additional wages to its personnel?
Okay, we belong to the industry with paper-thin margins. As such, if wages will increase, cost of electricity will continue to increase. We may have to add some more margins into the products that we sell. Because that's paper-thin margins, like I said. We only pad around 5-8%. For those which sell to the masses, those which sell to the money, medyo mas malaki ng konti ang pat nila. But again, we'll have to adjust those margins if labor costs will increase because that's across the board. It hits all industries and all businesses.
And with the challenging times that we are currently facing right now, we have the economy just recovering from the pandemic, and now you have another crisis in Eastern Europe, and with all the demands right now from the workers of potentially another minimum wage hike, could this basically rationalize the supermarket industry in the Philippines, or potentially maybe some of them could even shut down because of the paper-thin margins that you were talking about that could be eaten up by all these increases?
A definite tightrope act for all businesses as well as for the government. This is a tightrope act.
And how are you trying to overcome this tightrope act?
Okay. What manufacturers are doing is through promotions. You see these promotions in all supermarkets. They have sections which sell either buy one, take one, not near expiration to. Either buy one, take one, or you save 20 pesos if you buy packs of 3. So these are ways wherein they adjust their prices on a temporary basis in terms of promotions. People ask, how come gasoline goes up and down on prices? Supermarket items don't. Only up lang. Kasi mahirap magbaba ng presyo. Once they decrease prices, it's gonna be the ripple effect or domino effect down the road from the manufacturer to the distributors to the sub-distributors, wholesalers, supermarkets, that's a big retailers to the smaller retailers down to sari-sari store. Everybody's gonna be stuck with prices na mas mataas ang puhunan kasi bumaba ang presyo, and everybody's gonna be asking for a rebate, madugo. That's why manufacturers review their decision before they adjust their prices, increase their prices.
Thank you so much for this supermarket exchange, Stephen Kua of the Philippine Amalgamated Supermarkets Association. And still to come on the exchange, where your business is our business, we get insights from Trade Secretary Ramon Lopez on what the fuel price surge means for our kababayans and if an economic emergency is called for. And how have Filipinos responded to restrictions, economic shifts, and other changes from the pandemic? Manulife Philippines tells us about its new survey after the break. Glad you're staying with us right here on The Exchange, where your business is our business. I'm Rico Hizon. Some of the biggest companies in the world are either scaling back operations or completely pulling out of Russia in response to its invasion of Ukraine. And this includes technology giants like Apple, Netflix, and Amazon. In food, McDonald's is temporarily closing restaurants there. And Yum Brands, which has 1,000 KFC and Pizza Hut franchises in Russia, will suspend investment and restaurant development. Swedish manufacturer IKEA joined other retail businesses that pause operations in Russia, including the import and export of products in and out of Belarus. While here at home, the furniture giant continues to thrive and is expanding its e-commerce business to reach people all over the country. IKEA Philippines also wants to open more brick and mortar stores in the metropolis.
There is some plans to open even a second or third store in the mid and long run in Metro Manila. And then also some formats, basically in the bigger cities in the regions, in Visayas and also in Mindanao. But this is still, a plan and not yet reality. What we will do, of course, is to expand our e-commerce business as fast as possible, so we can also enabling people from the islands to shop in IKEA.
IKEA opened its biggest ever store in Pasay City in November. Economic managers are optimistic the economy can maintain its growth momentum this year despite the conflict in Eastern Europe. Let's now have an exchange with Trade Secretary Ramon Lopez. Sekmon, maraming salamat po for joining us. Some lawmakers are urging the president to declare a state of economic emergency. Is this the right move to save the economy?
Well, hello Rico. At the moment, we don't think na kailangan na yon. Right now, we've outlined to the president some moves that we can make immediately, and this pertains really to ensuring that we have stability when it comes to the supply of basic goods, particularly pagkain, food, of course yung oil natin, coal supply, things like those. And that's the reason why in the last meeting with the president, we've identified certain mga economic measures that can be done so that we can encourage or facilitate the build-up of supply of these basic commodities. For example, when we're talking of food, of course, the rice, the corn, the pork products, chicken, what else? Even wheat, no? And pagdating sa energy, of course, the coal supply. And in all this, we're looking into making sure that there is an unhampered movement coming in, and of course promoting also yung mga local production, particularly of agriculture products, making sure LGUs will be building up their stocks. They can buy directly from farmers, from producers, para siguradong may stocks tayo ng mga basic goods like mga pagkain.
But Secretary Mon, a lot of food sectors are really complaining the burden of these rising oil prices, and it's putting pressure on their bottom lines, and they want to raise the prices of the respective goods. What are you doing right now to keep prices where they're at, or even to just increase it just slightly so it won't really hurt the pockets of our kababayans?
Yes, thank you, Rico. Actually, that's really the point. In all these adjustments, we make sure that DTI will be looking at all their requests. Kailangan tempered yung mga increase na pinaplano nila. Sa ngayon, we have not received, maybe except for one sector in the papers right now, nabasa nyo yung canned sardines group. But as we were saying, yung impact naman sa prices right now, ang direct impact nakita natin immediate movement sa oil and oil products. Siyempre, gasoline, diesel, immediate impact kaagad yan. But yung as far as yung sa mga pagkain, mga basic goods, basic necessity, prime commodities, please note that they have mga inventory of raw materials. Yun pa yung ginagamit ngayon. Usually, they would have 30-day inventory, raw materials, and intermediate goods that they will need in their production. And also, they would have existing inventory that were produced using the materials of previous pricing or current pricing or costing.
But Secretary Mon, But Secretary Mon, eventually, of course, these higher oil prices will cascade, into their raw materials, and their inventory will run out. We also do not know when this conflict in Eastern Europe will end. So once that runs out, I mean, what are the parameters? How will you be working with the food manufacturers to keep their prices low? Because they'll have to eventually raise their prices.
Correct. So I guess ayaw natin pangunahan sila, no? Ayaw natin silang apurahin. But kung tumagal yung conflict, we've been saying that, syempre, ano rin yan, tatama din yung impact sa cost ng mga oil prices sa inputs ng production. But eventually, pag tumagal yung conflict, syempre, aabot din yan sa cost ng mga bilihin. Kaya nga, pero sa ngayon, what we're saying is wala pa yung mga planned increases na yan, ano? Except siguro kung ikaw nga yung gumagamit ng mga oil products, papagasolina or diesel, pagdating sa mga bangka, mga fishermen, yan, may immediate impact yan habang nagbabiyahe sila, nagpumapalaot, no, to catch fish. Yan yung mga may immediate impact on the cost of mga isda, no? Pero yung sa production, hindi pa kaagad, as in hindi today, hindi pa kaagad yung impact niyan. But as you said, kung tumagal naman talaga to, talagang tatama yan sa mga costing ng ating mga bilihin. Therefore, we have to watch for yung mga request nila for price adjustment. And that's the time we will, of course, from our end, we take the view of the consumers also na parang ite-temper natin kung ano man yung mga price requests that they will be submitting to us.
Nakakatakot nga, no, ang nangyayari sa Eastern Europe. Russia just said that if this conflict escalates and becomes protracted, we could see $300 per barrel of oil. This is really scary, Secretary Mon. And how will our government tackle this if we're already now at $100 to $130 per barrel? What if it reaches $300? Maraming sa ating mga kababayans will be suffering.
Talaga. Kaya nga dapat pagdasal natin talaga. Exogenous variable talaga to eh. I mean, external factor ito na hindi natin makokontrol. Kaya nga sana pagdasalan na talaga natin na mahinto itong conflict na to sa Ukraine-Russia. Buong mundo actually naapektuhan ito. So ang sa atin on our end talagang sabay-sabay na yan. Energy conservation, pag-develop ng mga alternative sources of energy, renewable energy. Ito po, we really just have to continue to look into these alternative sources. And right now, at least yung may immediate na pwede rin tayo magawa. We encourage also yung immediately yung pag-use ng mga electric vehicle, for example, something that we can start promoting. We're talking also reducing their tariff rates from 30% to 0% to populate the vehicle users at para kasi pag dumami rin yan, at least you have cleaner transportation means, and at the same time hindi kaagad diretso yung oil consumption ng mga ito, no? Of course they will still use electricity, but at least hindi kaagad yung diretso, hindi tulad ng ating mga nakikita ngayon yung tama sa fuel prices at direct hit kaagad yung mga vehicle users.
So talking about fuel, I mean, we've really seen that this conflict overseas shows how dependent we are on fossil fuel. You know, these drastic oil price movements are enough to rattle our economy. Sekmon, napakinggan natin si Senator Win Gatchalian.
The energy business is a long-term business, meaning we have to have the solutions now in order to prevent problems of the future. And what we are seeing here in our country right now is years of neglect. We rely so heavily on imported materials, and that makes us very susceptible to price shocks.
Ayan, Secretary Mon, no? We heard Senator Win Gatchalian. What can the government learn from this crisis in terms of energy sourcing? No? We have to have alternative sources of energy and not just rely on fossil fuels.
Correct. Exactly. So what I was saying earlier, that yung alternative sources, we should just continue to accelerate the development. And right now also, if you talk of renewable energy, meron ding isang kaming na-discover na yung sa IRR or implementing rules and regulation still limits the ownership to, let's say, inexhaustible sources of energy like solar, wind, tidal. And we're saying that we should revise that IRR on renewable energy to allow 100% foreign equity participation so that we can encourage more investments in these areas. So, kasi ngayon nakalimit sa 40%. So, things like this can encourage more investment in this field, no? Especially mga inexhaustible sources naman itong solar, wind, and tidal energy. We have to develop. We've started with this. We've been developing yung mga geothermal. So lahat ito, kailangan ma-develop pa rin talaga para talagang we won't be solely reliant on imported fuel.
And speaking also of alternatives, no, Secretary Mono, the Agriculture, Science and Technology departments have also come up with breakthroughs in food production. How is the government increasing their support for these initiatives to basically backstop, our dependence on some key basic commodities that are reliant, of course, on the gyration and movements of oil prices?
Well, first and foremost, we have to make sure that the mga inputs to agriculture, new technology will be supported. And that's the reason why even in our, one of our proposal na in-outline to President Duterte is that yung paggamit ng ating strategic investment priorities plan, wherein agriculture technology, renewable energy, all these sectors will be promoted, no, as we invite more investors in the country. So ibig sabihin nito, may tax support, fiscal incentive support yung mga areas na yan. And it's also inputs to agriculture. We have to make sure that we sort of make it easy for our let's say feeds maker to source corn both locally and imported. So by adjusting, let's say, the tariff on corn, kasi ngayon mataas pa yung taripa dyan, 35% in quota, 50% out quota. So we have to adjust it for now para maging mura yung input to production, especially for, let's say, for feeds, no? Ganun din yung mga input sa mga iba pang gamit pang agrikultura, so that our agriculture sector can lower their cost. Kasi amidst all these increasing prices of oil and other commodities.
And if we boost these food innovations of our departments, this is also a win-win situation. SecMo, no? We can boost our local industries, ensure stable food supply, and develop these products for exports.
Correct. That it's all about really innovation, and what you're saying about food innovation is always in our agenda. Priority yan. In fact, again, given extra push through fiscal incentives, these are all part of our strategic investment priorities plan. So continuous innovation, agriculture, food, manufacturing, all this should help in, let's say, food security. In fact, related to this, we just came or hopefully getting to see the end of the pandemic. Kasama rin dyan yung health infrastructure for of course pandemic mga pandemic solutions natin, no? So may pati yan binibigyan din ng incentives.
And SecMon, there are only 3 months left in the Duterte administration. What must be the priorities of the government to keep our economy strong and resilient despite the challenges of the pandemic and the Eastern European conflict?
Well, we simply have to stay the course. Even this is like another pandemic. We're coming off from the health pandemic now into this commodity prices pandemic. No, so we just have to stay the course. We continue to make our business environment really conducive for more economic activities, for investments. Recently, we're close to passing even the PSA. Hopefully, I think nabigay na sa Presidente for signature. We passed liberalization moves in the retail trade, in the Foreign Investment Act, of course, the CREATE last year, tax and corporate income tax related law. So all these are really, really important if we are to make sure that our economy will be strong, no, and resilient to weather the storm. Storm like what we're having or experiencing right now. Again, brought about by external factors.
And personally, SecMon, what would you still want to accomplish in the remaining months of your term as the DI Secretary?
Well, a lot pa din, we want to make sure that our projects on digitalization, having this central business portal, still promoting smart manufacturing, and continuing also yung investment promotion natin now that we have all these major economic reforms. These are the things that I'd like to focus on. Also, to address the impact of the pandemic and yung mga nahirapan na wala ng trabaho, we'll continue to accelerate yung pagbibigay ng mga ayuda in terms of not dole-outs, kung hindi yung mga livelihood kits, mga pangnegosyo, pangkabuhayan para sa ating mga kababayan. So I'll be going to different provinces next week and the week after para nga ma-accelerate yung distribution nitong mga livelihood kits.
Thank you so much for this economic exchange, Trade and Industry Secretary Ramon Lopez. And still on the exchange, where your business is our business, how can Filipinos ease their financial and mental health worries amid this ongoing pandemic? Manulife CEO and President Richard Bates joins us next. Keep it right here on CNN Philippines. News you can use, news you can trust. Glad you're staying with us right here on the exchange, where your business is our business. I'm Rico Hizon. It's been more than 2 years since the COVID-19 pandemic, and a recent survey by an insurance company shows Filipinos believe the crisis lasted longer than expected, with many of them worrying about their future. Richard Bates, the President and CEO of Manulife Philippines, joins us to tell us more about this. Richard, thank you so much for joining us. Share with us, what does the survey reveal about this ongoing tough environment?
Thank you, Rico, for having me and appreciate the introduction. And our recent survey, the annual Asia Care survey, has highlighted that just beyond only the physical impact, COVID-19 has really taken its toll on Filipinos' financial and mental well-being. A lot of stress that has come out of this. We're finding that the top 4 health concerns right now, 2 of which are mentally related, depression and anxiety, while the other 2 are heart disease and cancer. And so much of this stress, this mental stress, is coming from the financial impact and the toll that the last 2 years have taken.
And how do these financial worries affect the mental health of Filipinos?
I think to a high degree, a lot of it is coming in the form of depression, as it's come through the survey, coming through recognizing a high degree of anxiety as well. We certainly know that a large proportion, one of the highest numbers of people from 25 to 40 years old, rate depression as their highest health concern right now. And that's even higher than potentially heart disease and cancer, which is a concern. And this is where we're seeing it taking its mental toll.
And Richard, is there a specific group or demographics that is severely affected?
Yeah, I mean, I think there are a couple of ways to cut this. From a gender perspective, we looked at, we found that, over 80% concerned about their mental well-being and their mental health. However, out of that 80%, 84% were women. And this is where we can see that the stress that it's taking on them is really showing. And then the other group, as I mentioned earlier, is the age group of those 25 to 40. We're seeing that as being the number 1 health concern.
80% of women, that is a lot, because of course there's a work-life balance issue. They not only work from home, but they also have to take care of their family, their kids, and this really takes its toll mentally on a lot of people. So what about the effect on our young working population, Richard?
I think the young working population, as they look forward, are looking to have more flexibility. Looking to be able to take greater control over, first of all, their finances, which actually has been one of the key causes of stress for for all of the survey respondents. And so when you have up to 1 in 5 Filipinos surveys losing their job, 55% said their monthly income had been severely impacted over the last 2 years. That is one of the key sources of the pressure that people have been feeling, both in the households and individuals. So going back to the young individuals, most of their focus has been about taking control of their own wealth, taking control of their own finances. Now, it could be purchasing insurance. It could be about making sure they have a better understanding of funds and fund investments. And so with a variety of different areas, we're seeing young people being far more active on their financial well-being as well as their mental and physical well-being.
So how can Manulife help? How can Manulife address these concerns of our Filipinos, fellow Filipinos?
Yeah, appreciate that, Rico. And we started this last year where we launched a product called HealthFlex, which was an award-winning product last year, touching on the demand for a healthier, structured around a flexible way to design the product for what their needs are. We now have another product launching this month called Future Boost. Both of these you can tweak and adjust depending on what your specific needs are. And this to me gives our customers an opportunity to define and shape what their concerns are, where they want to put their money, and how they want to adjust that over the course of the policy lifetime.
Over the past 2 years, are we seeing now more Filipinos taking up these services, Richard, because of their concerns about their wealth, about saving for the future?
Yeah, that's absolutely right. And I think what you're seeing is that rather than being reliant so much on either family members or being relied on external parties, they're taking much greater control. So you're seeing from a very young age, purchasing, whether it's funds or purchasing insurance, and recognizing the need to have that protection. And not only that, the physical protection that they get from buying their products, what it also does is it puts them in a position where they just elevates their mental well-being. They know that if something were to happen, they're in a much better position, a much healthier state. And I think now where we're spending a lot of our time, both with our agents, our employees, as well as our customers, is helping them manage through their mental health and the anxiety. It was not a topic of conversation as prevalent as it is today 2 to 3 years ago. And the last 2 years has really brought that topic right to the surface. And I think it's very important that we don't shy away from it and we keep being willing to recognize the mental and emotional stress that the current situation has had on people.
But I'm sure, Richard, a lot of our kababayans also want to find out if they get into these services, are there any risks?
I think there are inevitably risks to a large degree, but I think when you're buying essentially an insurance product, you're trying to protect your risk. And that's the whole idea, is so that should there be a problem, should there be anything that happens to you, you have that downside protection. So that essentially either your or your family's welfare from a financial perspective is protected. Now, we never assume the event is going to happen to us. But I think in the last couple of years where we've seen so many different health challenges, physical and mental, impacting our customers and their families and their wider families, people have realized the need to take greater control and making sure that do they have enough protection? Do they have enough in the event that something may happen? And really taking an action on this. And the whole idea is to really make sure that you're protecting the financial fluctuation that may occur if something were to happen to your physical or mental health.
And if our audience want to know more information about these services and how they can address their concerns, which social media platforms can they check out?
Yeah, I mean, you can very easily go onto our Facebook page. You can just as easily go to the website, manulife.com.ph. There are a variety of different sources. If you know an agent, reach out to them and have a conversation. They'll be able to share all the details. So we have certainly a lot of both digital and physical ways that customers can learn more about this.
Thank you so much for this insurance exchange. Richard Bates of Manulife. And this is The Exchange, who makes sense of the facts and the figures and the ups and downs of the business cycle, because your business is our business. I'm Rico Hizon. Thanks for watching CNN Philippines. News you can use. News you can trust.